All right, so I have a little bit of a pet peeve after 20 years in ministry, and that is when people drop out of small groups and nobody notices. Now, there's a lot of reasons why nobody will notice. It happens to me even. Like, people have dropped out, we'll look around 6 months later and go, hey, what happened to Lisa or Bill or Sally? And we just weren't aware of it because there's other people attending, there's other stuff going on, and you just don't necessarily notice when somebody stops attending. All right, I'm going to give you 3 easy steps to follow in order to start tracking and being alerted when people drop out of their small groups. So the very first thing that you're going to need to do is you need to have a church management system. Now, some of you might have already been keeping stuff on spreadsheets, you might have been keeping stuff in like an Access database, but you really need to go and get a proper church management system. There's a lot of good ones. I work with a lot of churches that are using Planning Center. I'll show you guys how to track and do this in Planning Center, but Planning Center is not the only church software that will be able to do this. So remember, get yourself a church management system. So number 2, after you've got your church management system set up, is to enter in your small groups, and then you need your small group leaders to enter the attendance. Now, a lot of the modern systems, they can just pop out their phone, and there might be an app or something, and they can enter the attendance just right then and there via that app. Some systems have like a reminder that they email out and ask small group leaders to please enter the data. But like with any kind of information or data stuff, garbage in, garbage out. You need your small group leaders to give you good data. You need them to be consistent. You need them to enter attendance. Number 3, you now need to set your church management system to detect when a small group member stops attending. I like to base this on 3 factors. 1, is that person in a small group? 2, were they in the regular habit of attending beforehand, or at least what habit did they have in attending beforehand? And then 3, have they missed the last few weeks? Because there could be a variety of reasons why somebody has all of a sudden broken free from their habit. Maybe they were super regular, super normal, like they attended, out of the last 12 weeks, maybe they attended 11 times. Well, if that person disappeared for 2 weeks in a row, that might be cause for alarm. We would go, okay, what's going on? Are they okay? Did something happen? Or did they go on vacation? It could be either thing, but you want to know. You don't want it to drag out, 6 months and then go, oh, what happened to Sally? What happened to Steve? Similarly, you might have somebody that only shows up to small group, 2 weeks out of every month, right? So you've got 12 times, they showed up 6 times. Fair enough, maybe at this point you want to give them 3 or 4 weeks of missing before you actually follow up and check in on them. And that's just, again, watch for their habits, and when they break free from the habits, that's when we want to come in and check on it. So I usually use 2 baseline rules, as it were, in the church management system. I like to see if they've attended at least 75% or so of the previous or the 2 months prior to them missing church service. Or in the case of like if they only miss once every month, then yeah, I would want to know within 2 weeks. So I usually do a 4-week where it's like they attend about halftime, and then I do a 2 weeks where it's like they attended at least 3 out of 4. So the way that you would set this up, or the way a rule would look, is pretty simple. All right, as you can see, we've got Planning Center open in front of me, and this is just a rule on our kind of demonstration tenant that we work with. And what we've got going on is we've got those 2 sections, right? We've got these guys that are not as frequent of attenders, and we've actually lengthened out the term that we wanted to use for their habit. So we used 24 weeks for their habit, so about half a year. We've made sure that they're a member. And then we want to know if they've missed for 4 weeks in a row. So if they're usually a 50%er and all of a sudden they've missed for 4 weeks, we want to know it because that's a bad sign. Similarly, with the Well, similarly here we've got the second rule, which is somebody that's more frequent attender, somebody that usually was real faithful about going to their small group. Like I said, at least once a month, at least 3 times a month. And we've extended it out to 24 to get a longer history on it. And we want to make sure that they are, this should actually be 2. We want to see if they've missed 2 weeks, because these guys should be a lot more regular. We'll use percentages in these. If your system doesn't allow for percentages, you can actually use number of times, so number of events, and just kind of tune it up and down as you need to do that. All right, so that's just a quick glimpse of how it might look in your church management system. Now, the next step to take after this is actually doing some kind of follow-up. And the follow-up I would advise doing is automated, because if you automate these things, like if somebody ends up on a list or if somebody ends up being an alert within your system, it should shoot over to the point where it either sends an automatic email, it creates a card that you need to make a phone call, or you can do like a video messaging system where you follow up with a video message. If they had been on vacation, they're just going to be touched that you're checking in on them. If they're missing because of a family member in the hospital or something like that, you're going to get a response, and you're going to have something you can act on pastorally to shepherd your church. All right, I hope this video has been helpful to you guys. I hope that you guys have been inspired to get out there and work with your church management systems to automate detecting when people fall through the cracks. If this video has been helpful to you, do me a favor, like and subscribe. There's also going to be some things that pop up here on the sides if you're interested in more videos from us. All right, have a great week, and I look forward to talking to you guys next week.